Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. Tonight is the Friday night press box edition, and although it's technically Saturday morning, here are some of the game notes and unprinted content from my time reporting at Campbell's 33-7 win over Etowah in Smyrna, at Dixie Howell Field, at McDowell Stadium. I probably got one of those wrong, but you can read the full game story in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. The best high school football coverage in Cobb County and across the metro Atlanta area. Once again, visit Cobb Football Friday at mdjonline.com. But of course, you already knew that. What you didn't know is it's been, well, you probably did already know if you're in the metro Atlanta area, it's been, well, it's typical. It's been a typical fall where you get 98 degrees and sun 1 second, and then clouds and thunderstorms and all that fun stuff the next. Another Friday night where the week was clear and hot, and it decides to show up and try to rain on Friday. So I arrived at the field, strong clouds, thunder in the distance and everything like that. And my honest first question was, are we even going to play this game? And the Campbell coach that I happened to into on the field, he was just as questions that I was. We were listening to Purple Rain on the PA and more rain songs because they're PA announcers. They got nothing better to do. The refs, who I was searching out for the entire time as I'm looking in the press box, were the ones we were waiting on because neither team was on the field at 6:45. They're still in the locker rooms, which is a rarity. 7 o'clock, the refs showed up. They tested the field. They were walking on it and pushing their feet down. And meanwhile, I can see clearly now it was playing on the PA because the refs decided it would be an 8 p.m. kickoff. Uh, that gave fans a chance to step out of the cover that they were in and into the consistent light dribble that wouldn't cease until about halftime. The light, there is a light, there is a light atop the Campbell Performing Arts Center, which was the designation that lightning had cleared, that we were going to be able to play, and that it started at 8 p.m. But I'm curious. I visit variety of Cobb County schools in Smyrna, and wherever I'm told to go is basically where I go. But I've been to Campbell before, so I've heard the announcer the clip of "This is Sparta," which is from a movie that I remember, but I recognize that that movie's getting a little old. So I'm curious, are we far enough removed from 300 that the student body at Campbell doesn't know where that line is from? Is that handed down in the hallways? Is that a movie that Campbell graduates share with their soon to be Campbell students to let them know what that's from? I mean, because 300, while popular in its moment, isn't doesn't have the long-lasting power that Gladiator does. And so if you're thinking of a medieval action movie from the early aughts, can we say that now? I think Gladiator is where you go to. You don't necessarily go to 300, but that's neither here nor there. Campbell had that. I mentioned that phrase because Campbell's had some downtimes as a program. Um, And I heard in the press box that the reason they played that clip is because they had to get excited about something and we weren't going to wait around for touchdowns. So that's why This is Sparta is played after every first down. And this was a game where that was heard frequently because Campbell pretty much had their way. It was sloppy as Coach Phillips, as I quote Coach Phillips in the game story, said. It was a very sloppy first half. Special teams was special teams is not necessarily the same thing as recovering a fumble and an interception here and there. It was just the special plays that were kind of the symbol of the whole first half. And I wasn't able to phrase this question correctly, but between the high snaps from center to quarterback from the shotgun position, which both teams tended to play primarily, and then the punts, the special teams for the punts, just the snap, the kicker snap functionality, and the returns and everything like that. Special teams was just not on display here for either team, which was half of the reason why Campbell got in the end zone in the first place, because a bad snap was an 18-yard loss for Etowah's Zeke Douglas, who's a sophomore, who am I getting this mixed up? No, because Nate plays for Campbell, and it's Zeke Douglas that plays for Etowah. Sophomore that Coach Kemper said was making his second start. And if that's the second start, then Etowah's got a bright future, because he showed that he can be a mobile quarterback. The offensive system that he was playing in this night seemed like it was built for a right-hander, because he'd be rolling into a direction and then have to kind of turn his whole body to then throw the ball or to release it. But there were times where they just would go trips right and have a tight end to the left-hand side. He'd catch the snap from the shotgun position and just pick his way through and find a first down. They did that a couple times, and that was something that Coach Kemper said they were trying to integrate into the offense, especially because it was working, but it wasn't something that was part of the game plan. And honestly, between that and the just, I don't want to say domination, but it was clear Campbell had the advantage up front, the line of scrimmage, both on the offensive and defensive side, because Zeke Douglas was on the run most of this game, where there were people in his face and everything like that, and it led to a lot of quick three and outs. Um, Another punt being fumbled, this time by the returner, that ended up getting recovered to the 3 yard line. And that's how the ball was moved mostly in the first half, until Campbell went on their long, I want to say it's 11 plays, but the bigger part of it was they got three, four first downs in a total of 5 plays. It was this long time draining drive. But as like I said, it all starts with high snaps and bad things like that. And let's see if I can properly get Coach Phillips on this. Somebody back there, snaps. And hopefully you guys were able to hear him talking about the snaps and just the way that that kind of was a factor in this game. Um, there wasn't really much else to say about the game itself. I mean, it was 14-0 at the was it 14-0 at the half, and then 21-7 after three. And I mean, the the epitome of this game was midway through the third quarter. The Campbell had just scored. It's 21-7, and the ball goes out of bounds after on a kickoff. And that led to the biggest slice of confusion you can ask for, because both teams sent out both of their special teams units, because the referees didn't make it clear as to what was being signaled besides the flag being put on the field. Uh, at the end of the day, and by that I mean the 3 to 5 minutes of who's gonna, and wait, no, are you going, and everything like that. That is the Spider-Man meme, if you want to look at it that way. End of the day, it was going to be kicked off again, but then it just being 5 yards, getting walked off, and Etowah took over the ball, and that was that. And that was kind of the way it was. It was just it was a sloppy game was the best way to describe it. Zeke Douglas, if he's your starting quarterback, you've got a bright future, but he's also going to have to. And this was most of the Eagles. There were a lot of just big hits in this game, and two of them caused fumbles. That were obvious, and the one in the third quarter against Douglas, he's gonna score. They get the ball, they're close to the end zone. He Same type of play I'm talking about earlier, where you go three wide, you got a tight end the other side, and he's just gonna take the ball and run behind a block and see if he can't find a hole. He does that. He breaks the tackle here, breaks the tackle there, and then just a huge hit, and the ball comes out, and they're and I let me see if I can't find Kemper to allow him to say what he said when I asked him his thoughts on the game. That's my lead quote, and it's about as descriptive of this game as possible. Uh, Etowah ended up with less than 200 yards of total offense. Uh, and yeah, that's about what it was. I'm on the sidelines in the fourth quarter so that I can speak to the coaches and not have to try and go through people leaving the game right at the end. And I saw the most amazing catch, and I by Campbell's Maddox West, believe it was a. I don't know why you're throwing this deep into the game when you guys are up, but that's neither here nor there. But there are these two students on the sidelines with cameras for whatever they're there for, and the play happens literally right in front of them. And I'm there with my pad because I'm taking stats, I'm taking notes, and the only camera I have is my phone. And if I was in their position, I at the very least would have turned my phone and had a blurred shot and say, I tried to get this shot because Mr. West, it's a jumping, diving, twisting catch where he lands in bounds. It's the kind of thing that would be on a top 10 list if they still have that on Sports Center. And both of these kids were sitting right there, and neither one of them had the shot because I'm looking at them like, so did you get that? Did you get that afterwards? Because I might have tried to push that onto this. So if you're watching on YouTube, you could have seen what I was talking about, but unfortunately, they didn't get the shot. So, and I, yeah, it goes back to what I was saying briefly before, which is it's the third quarter, it's the fourth quarter. You're up two scores. I'm confused why you're throwing the ball and why players are not just going down in bounds, not running towards the middle of the field instead of racing towards the sidelines. It's the kind of thing I guess is acceptable because it's high school, but I feel we watch too much sports nowadays. We watch too much highlights and too many clips and listen to too much talk about this and that and people's opinions and people's moods and how that's going to affect them as they play and things like that. But the basic parts of the game are still there. And if you're up two scores, you understand that we're trying to get this clock to double zeros, regardless if I score a touchdown or not. The team's goal is for that clock to reach double zeros with us having more points. So if we're up two, three scores in the fourth quarter, in the third quarter, going out of bounds is illogical to me. I mean, maybe in a video game, but even in a video game, only the clock's not gonna run. So yeah, that's just a little personal peeve I have because as I will let anybody in any press box know if I'm there, I am not rooting for either team. I am a freelancer, a hired writer to the core. The only person I'm rooting for is that clock and the referees to loosen their fingers every now and again to let it drip off a couple more seconds. So anytime someone's throwing for the possibility of incomplete pass in the fourth quarter of a game that's relatively decided, I am shocked. And that is the best I can say. And that's the last call from the press box about Campbell's 33-7 win over Etowah. And I'm probably mispronouncing or saying it too wrong. But once again, you can read the full story, the full game story about Campbell's victory in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. I'd like to thank you for stopping by the terminal. Safe travels as you continue down your highway, and have a good night.